Here on the banks of the River Chater in Ketton, we find a grove of swamp cypress trees, which you can see standing behind me. These beautiful trees hail from North America. Their native range is in the south, typically in areas like Florida, and as the name suggests, they like swampy, wet, boggy areas. They're also known as bald cypresses or red cypress for the beautiful colours that they show in the autumn when they lose their needles. Let's learn a little bit more about the swamp cypress. I was kindly given access to this grove of swamp cypresses by the landowner. They grow in a private plot of land, and I feel very privileged to have been able to come and have a look at these beautiful trees. Like many of the exotic trees that you can find in Ketton, these trees grow on a plot of land that was once owned by Thomas Burroughs. On the bank of the River Chater, this idyllic spot is surrounded by trees, water, the sound of birds, bees, insects and woodpeckers. So there are 5 swamp cypresses growing in this grove. 3 of them are in excellent health and are very tall. 2 of them have lost their heads, though one seems to have recovered, while one doesn't seem to be showing signs of life. These trees are long-lived. The oldest known swamp cypress specimen lives along the Black River in North Carolina and is thought to be around 2,600 years old, which is the oldest living tree in eastern North America. Previously, the oldest known one, which sadly burned down in 2012, was 3,500 years old, a bald cypress in Longwood, Florida, that was 165 feet tall. Swamp cypress wood is renowned for being very rot resistant, which I suppose makes sense for a tree which thrives in such a wet environment. It's excellent for making fence posts and other things like that, although I prefer to see the trees growing rather than made into fences. So the swamp cypress is the official state tree of Louisiana, designated as such in 1963. Now these beautiful trees are deciduous, so they lose their needles in the wintertime, going a beautiful orangey red colour. Now one of the reasons I first became aware of these trees here in Ketton was because I was looking for dawn redwoods in Ketton. Dawn redwoods and swamp cypresses from a distance look quite similar. They both lose their needles in the wintertime, they've both got a fairly russety red bark, and there are a number of ways to differentiate them. One is to look at the cones, and another way that's quite easy is to have a look at the needle pattern. So I've brought a little frond of a dawn redwood, and we're going to compare it to that of a swamp cypress, and I'll show you the difference. So here's a little bit of swamp cypress. Here's a little bit of dawn redwood. Now you can see that they're quite similar. This little piece of dawn redwood is a little bushier, the needles are a little larger, but you can see how you might get them mixed up. One way to differentiate them is you'll notice that on the dawn redwood, the needles come out of the stem symmetrically, directly opposite one another, whereas in the swamp cypress, the needles come out alternating on each side of the stem, not symmetrically. The swamp cypress, given its beautiful foliage, its changing colours throughout the year, and its furry bark, adds such a beautiful aspect to gardens, and especially in their native areas in North America. They are beautiful trees. They have very buttressed bases to give them extra stability, and we can also see over here the knobbly roots rising up out of the soil. These lumps are the cypress knees. They're root protrusions which stick up a little bit like stalagmites from the soil. They tend to be a feature on older trees growing in boggy soils. Initially thought to be to do with obtaining oxygen, they're now thought to be more of a way that the tree stabilises itself in soft, boggy soil. The bald cypress was introduced to the UK in 1640 by the plant collector John Tradescant. It was brought from North America and has since been planted in many areas, gardens, parks, and also often near lakes. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the swamp cypress today, a beautiful North American tree which can thrive in the UK if planted in the correct location and given a chance to grow. Thank you so much for watching.